snow whipped against the frosted windows of the diner, howling like a beast outside. The clock above the counter ticked past 9 p.m., its steady rhythm drowned out by the wind. Inside, the smell of burnt coffee and fried eggs lingered, a fragile warmth against the freezing storm. The waitress, an older woman named Eleanor, moved carefully between tables with a steaming pot in her hand, her breath visible in the cold air that crept in every time the door rattled. She glanced toward the entrance, where the snow piled high against the glass. The roads had emptied hours ago. No one was foolish enough to drive through this weather. No one except apparently 15 bikers who now filled nearly half the diner. Their leather jackets dripped melted snow onto the checkered floor, patches glinting in the dim light. The man who seemed to lead them, broad-shouldered, with a steel-gray beard and eyes like storm clouds, stood at the counter, nodding at Eleanor's cautious gaze. His name patch read Hawk. "Ma'am," he said, his voice rough but polite. "Didn't mean to scare you. Roads are iced over. We can't make it through the pass tonight." Eleanor tightened her grip on the coffee pot, studying the group. They looked rough, cold, hungry, tired, but she didn't see danger in their faces, only exhaustion. She gave a slow nod. "You'll freeze if you go back out there," she said finally. "Sit tight. I'll get you something hot." Hawk's expression softened. He gave a short nod of thanks, and one by one, the bikers removed their gloves and helmets, steam rising from their soaked clothes. The diner filled with the sound of clinking mugs, quiet murmurs, and the hum of the heater fighting against the storm. Outside, snow kept falling, erasing the roads, muffling the world, while inside, a fragile sense of trust began to thaw the cold. Eleanor watched the bikers eat in silence, the snowstorm outside growing fiercer by the minute. Every time the door creaked, a gust of icy wind blew through the diner, making the lights flicker. It was clear they couldn't stay here all night. The roads were buried and the power could go out any moment. She glanced at the group huddled in the corner booth. Tough men, rough around the edges yet strangely respectful. No shouting, no cursing, just quiet gratitude. When Hawk stood to pay, Eleanor shook her head. "Keep your money," she said softly. "You boys need a warm place to sleep, not an empty wallet." He frowned slightly. "We'll be fine, ma'am. Don't want to trouble you." Eleanor smiled, that kind of gentle, motherly smile that disarms even the hardest soul. "You'll trouble me more if you end up frozen in a ditch." Before he could argue, she pulled on her heavy coat and motioned toward the back door. "My place is just up the hill. Big old farmhouse. The guest rooms haven't seen company in years, but they're dry and warm." For a moment, Hawk hesitated, torn between pride and practicality, then nodded once. "All right, ma'am. Lead the way." The wind nearly knocked them off balance as they trudged through knee-deep snow. Their boots sank with every step, and Eleanor's scarf whipped behind her like a flag. When the farmhouse finally appeared, a faint yellow glow in the blizzard, the men exchanged relieved glances. Inside, the air smelled faintly of cedar and cinnamon. A wood stove crackled in the corner. Eleanor ushered them in, shaking snow from their shoulders, and began piling logs onto the fire. "Hang your jackets by the stove," she ordered with quiet authority. "You'll catch your deaths if you sit around soaked." The bikers obeyed without protest. Some busied themselves drying gloves. Others helped her move furniture to make space on the floor. It wasn't long before the warmth began to return to their faces. Eleanor disappeared into the kitchen and returned with bowls of homemade vegetable soup, still steaming. "Eat," she said simply, setting them down. "No one sleeps on an empty stomach in my house." As they ate, the tension melted. Someone cracked a joke about the nicest ambush they'd ever walked into, and laughter broke out around the fire. Eleanor chuckled too, shaking her head. In that moment, surrounded by 15 strangers, leather jackets hanging like shadows on her walls, she didn't feel fear. She felt something else entirely. Company. The storm outside roared like a living thing, rattling the shutters and howling through the chimney. But inside Eleanor's farmhouse, the world was warm. The bikers sat in a wide circle around the crackling wood stove, the orange glow painting their faces in flickering light. Steam curled up from mugs of cocoa and coffee. The scent of burning pine mixed with the faint sweetness of cinnamon that clung to Eleanor's apron. For a long while, no one spoke much, just the quiet clink of spoons and the soft groan of the old house settling under the weight of snow. Then Hawk cleared his throat. "Ma'am, he said, setting his mug down. We didn't thank you properly. Not many folks would open their door to men like us. Eleanor smiled faintly, knitting in her rocking chair. My husband used to ride, she said. Different time, same spirit. You boys just look like the kind who've seen too much road and too little kindness. The men exchanged glances, surprised, almost embarrassed. Hawk's expression softened. What did he ride? A Harley Panhead, she replied, eyes glinting with memory. 52 model. He loved that thing more than his own boots, she chuckled. He used to say the road wasn't just a way to go somewhere. It was where he felt free. That opened a floodgate. One by one, the bikers began sharing their stories. Jesse talked about the brother he lost overseas and how the club helped him crawl out of the dark after the funeral. Tommy, the youngest, confessed that his first bike was built from scrap parts behind a gas station because he couldn't afford a real one. Even Hawk spoke about his late father, a man who'd taught him to ride but never to forgive himself. Eleanor listened, nodding, never interrupting. The fire crackled between their words, filling the quiet moments with warmth instead of emptiness. When she spoke again, her voice was soft but steady. You boys carry heavy stories, she said. But the road don't just take and it gives too. It gave you each other. And tonight it brought you here. A deep silence followed, the kind that feels sacred. Then someone reached for a guitar case resting by the door. With a grin, he strummed a few chords. Another joined in, tapping rhythm on a coffee tin. Soon rough voices began to sing, low, worn, real. Eleanor's eyes shimmered as the room filled with music. Men who had seen the world's hardness, now singing in a stranger's home like old friends. By midnight, the storm still hadn't let up. Some of the bikers drifted off to sleep on the floor. Jackets rolled under their heads. Hawk stayed up, helping Eleanor add wood to the fire. Not really, he said quietly. Just thinking how a stranger showed us more kindness than most folks we've known. Eleanor smiled at that, her eyes soft. Strangers are just friends you haven't met yet, son. The wind howled again outside. But inside that little farmhouse, the world was at peace, 15 lost souls finding warmth, not just in the fire, but in her kindness.